Review of The Killer's Game, 2024. Plot. The film follows Joe Flood, Dave Bautista, a renowned hitman who has grown weary of the life he leads. After receiving a terminal medical diagnosis, he decides to put a contract on his own life to avoid a long and painful decline. To do this, he turns to a network of professional killers he already knows. The real problem begins when Joe discovers that the diagnosis was a mistake and that he is actually healthy. Now he must fight against dozens of assassins hired to take him down, all extremely motivated since the target is one of the very best in the business. In the midst of it all, Joe also tries to protect his ex-girlfriend, Sofia Boutella, which adds emotional weight to the story. Strengths. Dave Bautista shows plenty of charisma as the lead. Even if he's not the most versatile actor, he handles the role well, delivering both physical presence and more human moments. The action sequences are creative, exaggerated, and at times entertaining, reminiscent of the over-the-top style of films like John Wick or Kingsman, but with a stronger comedic touch. The supporting cast, which includes Sofia Boutella, Ben Kingsley, Pom Klementieff, and Terry Crews, brings diversity and energy to the scenes, even if not fully explored. The film embraces a tone of light entertainment, not taking itself too seriously, a plus for viewers looking for a fun, straightforward action flick. Weaknesses. The script is shallow. While the premise is intriguing, the execution is predictable and lacks creativity, wasting a concept that had much greater potential. The pacing is uneven. The first act drags, and once the action picks up, the movie sometimes gets lost in repetitive sequences. The humor feels misplaced. In several scenes, the jokes clash with the violence, undercutting the tension. The gore effects don't always convince, making some deaths look too artificial. There's a lack of identity. The film borrows elements from many modern action movies, but fails to establish its own distinctive style. Fun facts about The Killer's Game, 2024. 1. A long development journey. The film had a very long and troubled development. Since the 1990s, several different versions of the project circulated. Actors such as Jason Statham, Michael Keaton, and Wesley Snipes were once considered for the lead role. Directors like John Woo, Alex Proyas, and Rennie Harlin were also in talks at different times, but the project kept changing hands. Originally developed under the title Godforsaken, the script was written by Rand Ravitch and based on Jaybon Singh's novel, sold to New Line in 1995. 2. Cast and directing changes. Major changes happened over the years. Jason Statham was replaced by Dave Bautista in 2019, and Ice Cube was initially cast but later replaced by Terry Crews in 2024. Filming began in July 2023 in Budapest, even during the SAG-AFTRA strike, thanks to a special waiver. 3. Unusual genre blend. Dave Bautista said he wanted to move away from purely action roles and saw this project as a chance to explore romance. In his words, it's a rom-com disguised as an action film. Director J.J. Perry, a veteran stuntman and action coordinator, also explained that his main motivation wasn't just action, but to create a love story with comedy, which is unusual for this type of movie. 4. Release and distribution. The film premiered in U.S. theaters on September 13, 2024, distributed by Lionsgate. Just 3 weeks later, it became available for digital purchase and rental on platforms such as Prime Video, Apple TV, and Vudu. It is expected to arrive on the Starz streaming service in early 2025. 5. Audience reactions. Reactions online were mixed. Some viewers criticized the overuse of CGI and the predictable structure, while others enjoyed the fun, over-the-top action. Many praised the fight choreography, with fans highlighting the showdown between Bautista and Marco Zarro as a standout moment. Lessons from The Killer's Game, 2024. 1. Value life before it's too late. Joe Flood only realizes how much his life and his love still meant when he believes he's about to die. The film reminds us that people often appreciate what truly matters only when they are on the verge of losing it. 2. Be careful with impulsive decisions. After receiving a terminal diagnosis, Joe makes an extreme choice, hiring assassins to take his life. Later, he finds out it was a medical mistake. The lesson here is to think before acting, because rash decisions can lead to irreversible consequences. 3. Love can be a powerful motivation. Joe's bond with his ex-girlfriend gives him a reason to fight against all the killers sent after him. The message is that emotional connections can give us strength even in the toughest situations. 4. Life is full of ironies. Joe, a professional hitman, becomes the target of the very same world he once thrived in. This shows how our own choices can unexpectedly turn against us. 5. Entertainment can still teach. Even though The Killer's Game is an over-the-top action movie with humor, it reminds us that there's always room for reflection on life, death, love, and choices, even in lighter stories. The film The Killer's Game 2024 had an estimated budget of $30 million United States dollars, but earned only $5.9 million United States dollars worldwide, making it a box office failure. The film The Killer's Game 2024 has 47% approval from critics on Rotten Tomatoes and 89% approval from the audience. Now, here is our opinion.
When I watched The Killer's Game 2024, I didn't really know what to expect. At first, it seemed like a generic action movie, and indeed, the beginning reinforces that impression. Nothing seemed very different from other films in the genre. However, the story quickly presents its starting point. The protagonist receives a terminal illness diagnosis and tries to settle everything in his life before dying. The surprise is that the diagnosis was wrong. He does not have a terminal illness. But in the meantime, he had already made all the preparations for his will and hired assassins to kill him. The tragedy had already occurred, and it was too late to fix. Although the premise is absurd, it is precisely from this point that the movie becomes interesting and sets itself apart. One aspect that bothered me is that the protagonist is overly competent, defeating the assassins with ease, almost as if it were a game. This reduces the sense of danger and tension that theoretically should be present in a plot about survival against professional killers. Additionally, the film seems to hesitate between two genres, action and comedy. It tries to balance humorous scenes with action moments, but it doesn't always manage to do so convincingly. Despite this difficulty, the movie is still entertaining. It delivers surprises and creative moments that break a bit from the predictability of the beginning, making the experience more interesting than one might initially expect. In summary, The Killer's Game 2024 is not just another generic action movie. Its unusual premise and the unexpected development of the story offer elements that stand out. Although the tension is not always effective and the genre definition can be unclear, the film manages to entertain and surprise, bringing a freshness to an action scenario that could easily become cliché. That's all for now. If everything goes well, see you in the next video. Until then.